Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, I guess I should say. It's Friday evening, and this is the Cruiser Chris World Network. And today I'm going to explain to you what I've been doing for the last little while, and that is studying for my technician's license to become an amateur ham radio technician uh, for myself. So I'm going to do a live stream tonight. First of all, if all of you could share this out, that would be greatly appreciated. And I will do the same thing for myself right now. I'm going to close this for a moment, and I'm going to open this. And I'm going to go into Facebook on my mobile device, provided that I can get there. I was not able to get there. I had another video open earlier. So I'm going to go into this here live stream. And I'm going to turn down the volume so that you don't hear an echo. And then I'm going to copy the link and share it out over my Facebook page. I'm gonna mute the audio for just a minute, but I'll be right back. Good evening, everybody. As I said earlier, my name is Cruiser Chris, also known as just Chris. Today, I'm going to talk with all of you about what is ham radio, why is it important, and how, if you are interested in studying to be a ham radio operator, can you get your start? So I would invite all of you to share this stream out to as many people as you possibly can over Facebook, Twitter, or any other social media networking website that you may have available to you. First of all, I would like to also, for those of you who have not yet come in uh, or given us a thumbs up for this live stream, we would invite you to come in and hit the X on the chat, give us a thumbs up, and then come back into the chat. So let me begin. What is ham radio? And for those of you that are wondering, I have a definition as to what ham radio is. I'm going to pull that up. So this is the Google definition of what an amateur ham radio is, or what amateur ham radio is. Amateur radio, also known as ham radio, is the use of radio frequency the use of the radio frequency spectrum for the purpose of non-commercial exchange of messages, wireless experimentation, self-training, private recreation, radio, sports, contesting, and emergency communications. So that is the definition of that. What is a ham radio? What is ham radio? That is your definition of what it is on Google. And I just said the magic words to my phone, so just hang on and I will get that fixed up right away. So let me tell you a little bit about myself before I talk about what ham radio is. But by me talking a little bit about myself, first, I hope that it will allow you to see how I got my interest in ham radio operations. I was an Eagle Scout. I obtained that rank in the Boy Scouts of America when I turned 18 in the year 2017. Not 17, 2007. Throughout my scouting career, which ranged from Tiger Cubs all the way up to Eagle Scout, I was exposed to many different aspects of the world, whether it be from camping to hiking to fire. You learn how to start fires. You learn how to carve things with a pocket knife. And every once in a while, you get the pleasure of having a person who stops by that is a ham radio operator. Now, This was probably back in the late 90s to early 2000s that we saw this ham radio operator at one of our local scout camps. But I was always fascinated ever since that day of watching a, a person that was a amateur radio operator being able to contact uh, other parts of the world by just using a piece of equipment that either you can mount on a table, or you can either sit it on a table, or you can have it in a handheld, you can have it in your vehicle, or at another place that's convenient for you. Um, so that's how I got my start in and exposure into ham radio operations. I then didn't pursue it when I ended my career in scouting after I obtained my Eagle Scout. But being that we are in lockdown right now, I felt like I wanted something to do so that I can keep my mind occupied and distracted from what is going on around me. So, in addition to starting this YouTube channel, I decided to um, go and get my technician's license for the amateur ham radio. Um, my amateur ham radio technician's license. Now, there are 3 levels in the United States that are responsive, are in the licensing um, range for amateur radio operators. And that is the definition that I read to you. I, I, I've got that definition somewhere. Yeah, in here, and I can go get that in a little bit. But the 3 levels of license are as follows. You have your beginner's license. It basically puts you into the door and allows you to get out on the bands of amateur ham radio. That is called your technician's license. And ham radio is a worldwide thing, so it's in several different countries all around the world. Okay, so I just want you to understand that. So another thing that we could say is the names for what the license are in different countries may vary based on the country that you are in. All right. So I'm going to tell you from the United States perspective what the names of the licenses are that we have. And like I said, there are 3 of them. There is the technician's license, which is basically your entry level license into the ham radio world here in the United States of America. There is the general license, which is one step up from the technician's license. And with the technician's license, you just get, basic entry level band permissions. And you have to follow um, the requirements, and you have to stay within your frequencies that are permitted to you by holding, by the license that you hold in the band plan that your license covers. Okay, so if you're an amateur, if you're a technician, you can't go on what would be considered a general license holder frequency in their bands, because technically you would be um, too high for your license, and you could get into some real trouble that with the FCC and other organizations around the world that police the world of amateur ham radio. So the next level up, as I was saying earlier, from technician, which is the basic license, is general. And with each level up, you gain certain privileges out there on the bands. With each level up, you are there are bands added to you. And I will go over what those bands are in a later video or live stream, but I'm just basically introducing this whole concept today and telling you what I'm doing. So you'll have the second step is your general license, which allows you to increase your frequency allotments based on your band plan. And then you have what's called an extra license, which basically means you basically know everything you need to know about amateur ham radio, and you can go anywhere you want to go in the bands as long as it's permitted for you to do so. So I'm going to now switch over, and I'm going to show you what I am using to study the for the technician's test. So first of all, I must begin by saying this. There's no right or wrong way to study. And everybody learns at a different pace than the next person. I may learn different than John down the street or Bill in the next town over. Bill may learn different than Ed in Washington or Sue in Iowa. So you have to really come up with your own study methods and then go from there. So this is the book that I'm using, and it is by Gordon West. Gordon West is a ham radio operator himself, and he has been on the ham radio bands for several years now, and he decided to write a book to help all of us um, be able to obtain our license. Now, I must also preface this by saying that there are several different books that you can use to obtain your ham radio technician's license, but I chose, and I actually had a couple of my friends who are already ham radio operators uh, suggest this book to me. And the reason why they suggested this book to me is because of the fact that, no offense to the ARRL book, but there's a lot of reading, and the explanations for certain things are very, very long, and sometimes it might be hard for me and the people who are helping me to understand. So this book is a very simple book, and it'll take you right through each part of the ham radio technician's license. It will talk about um, the different definitions. It's got test questions in the book for the uh, technician test. It's got radio theory. It's got antenna theory, and it's got a lot of um, different things that you might need to know on for the amateur ham radio test. Then you have this book. This book is your FCC Rules and Regulations Part 97 book that you can use to find out what you need to do to be in compliance with the FCC Part 97, what Part 97 is, and so on and so forth. And I'm not quite sure if I can do that. Sorry, I'm reading, folks. While I can. And on the back of the book, there are some numbers that you can call and a website that you can visit if you have any questions about what Part 97, what the rules and regulations are. And then what I like about this is the CD-ROM that comes with the book that I just showed you from Gordon West. It goes along with the book. I've heard, and I'm not quite sure, but I've heard that you can there is a part on this CD-ROM where the book will actually be read to you. I'm not quite sure if that's the case. But this CD-ROM is important because in addition to the book having the test question pool, which, by the way, there's about 425 test questions in the pool right now. And the pool goes in 4-year increments. So the one that I have right now goes from June 30th, 28. Wait, nope. I'm going to go back here and look at that, because I don't want to give you guys the wrong information. So this book goes from 2018. I believe that is July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2022. So that's where oh yes, I see it. July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2022. And the if you look up here in the red part of where the book is, and I don't know how my camera is on the computer, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. But you can see what that is. And we just had somebody come into the live chat. Hello, person that came into the live chat, and I'm sorry I'm not reading the live chat right now because I'm talking to you, and I don't have my producer with me right now. So I apologize for that, but welcome to the new person that just came into the live chat. And I'm basically going over how I'm going to be studying for my technician's test for the amateur ham radio license here in the United States. So this is the book that I use, and like I said, it goes from July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2022. And then they will come out with a new book, and it'll have a whole new question pool in that when it comes out. But we still have some time, so I would encourage you to go and pick this book up, because this book will be very helpful. And what I do is I use a combination of both the book and the CD-ROM right here, because there are questions on the CD-ROM, and it basically breaks them out into sections. And my workers and I have been working to write down those sections. So as I go along, I will present those sections to you in future videos or live streams just like this. So that is all of that what I have so far, and I'm going to be right back because I am going to go and grab a packet of pages here to show you another way that I study for the amateur, for the test, to make sure that I understand fully what the concepts are. And as I said earlier, however you choose to study and the places that you use to get your information from is totally up to you. So, as you can see, these are FCC book terms. So that would be out of that little Part 97 book that I showed you earlier. And I've got these different definitions here, and I've put them in large print. And as you can see, I'm going to hold it like this. And sorry for the so much moving of the paper. But as you can see, all of the words that I have are alternating. They're first of all in large print because I have a visual impairment, and I'm not afraid to say that. I'm a very open person. And so it's very hard for me to see. So part of what my worker and myself decided to do was, let's alternate the color between red and black, and every opposite word will be black, and then every other opposite word will be red. And we do the same thing for those definitions. Like, okay, let's talk about, for example, external RF power amplifier. Okay, what's that? That is, so that's in red. And then the corresponding definition to external RF amplifier is in the same color that I choose, or it's in red just like the word is, so then it makes it easier for me to go and find that definition. So that is how I do some of my studying. Okay, and so you might be wondering, why is ham radio important? Well, ladies and gentlemen, ham radio is important on several different aspects. It started way back in the early 1900s when ships would cross the Atlantic Ocean from England coming over to the United States to help with communications between the ship and the shores. A lot of times back in those days, they had Morse code operators that would work in shifts on those big ships, and then they would go around to the passengers on those ships to have them write down messages, and they would bring those messages to the radio shacks on the ships, and then they would have radio operators on those ships that would translate those messages into Morse code, and then the Morse code would then be picked up on the lines, whether they be aerial or underwater transmission lines. And then they would be relayed to a station and then converted into a either another Morse code station, or they would be converted into written form and then translated, and that message would then be sent to that particular person's family members or other relatives. So that is what's known as Morse code. And you don't have to know Morse code today to be able to uh, pass um, your exam, but there are still some people uh, that are living today, that are in the hobby today, that also enjoy the challenge of learning Morse code. So it's really up to you. However, that is not a requirement of you being able to pass and obtain your license today. In the next video, I will show you what the questions that I have written down look like. Another important thing is when the towers went down and the Pentagon was hit by the terrorists on 9/11, because the main communications were down for the first responders. That was another important time. And I don't know if you remember, but I gave you this definition earlier of what amateur radio is. And so for those of you who are wondering, you can go back into the beginning of the stream and review what that is. But as you remember, for those of you that have been with us from the beginning, you can't, I showed or told you that, amateur ham radio was for the commercial use and recreational communications, sports radio, contesting, and emergency communications. So when the towers went down, a lot of the radio transmission towers went down with that. So they relied on ham radio operators for the first couple of days until they got their communications back up in running. And I just realized I'm going to take a look at something real quick here, folks, because I want to make sure that you're hearing me, and I don't know if you are. So okay, yep, I think you were hearing me. So what I was saying is, back in the day of 9/11, because their main radio towers went down, a lot of the amateur ham radio operators that were in the area um, partnered up with fire and police authorities to go around with them over the first few days after the 9/11 disasters to make sure that they had adequate communication, and so they could get emergency messages out. So I'm going to look here and see who we have in the chat. Okay. And hello to those in the chat. Hi, Manny. Nice to hi, many subjects uh, answered. And hi, RJ. Nice to have you in the chat with us this evening. So I'm going to be bringing you either videos over the next few weeks as I do my journey into the technician license of amateur ham radio. And then also, I'm going to, sorry, I'm having trouble kind of putting my thoughts together, but it's 11 o'clock at night where I am, so I figured that I would come in and tell you kind of very quickly what I was doing so that you could see what I am doing. So I'm going to find the questions on the computer by using this CD, and there will be links in the description where you can find information about how much the book was and everything like that. So I would thank you, RJ. I appreciate that. And hello to you, and I hope you're safe out there. I'm going to include links to where you can find this book. I'm also going to, first of all, I'm going to say thank you to my friend Andy, whose call sign is K7RTV, and my other friend Ray, whose call sign is W2DEA, for reigniting my interest in the hobby. And they are part of what is known as a channel on Zello called Network Radio Freak S, or Freak, like freaks, but not the word freaks, but just Freak space S. So I'm going to bring them into my live streams and let you see, with their permission, of course, and we'll have to coordinate that with my schedule and their schedules as well. But with their permission, of course, I would like to bring them in and show and have them kind of tell you what their experience is and how long they've been doing it and kind of how they got their start in the amateur radio hobby. The other thing that I will say is when you're studying for your test, I'm going to talk about what the test is in just a moment here. Uh, and it looks like we have some. Oh, thank you for sharing, RJ. That was really appreciated. Appreciated. Um, I would like to thank them for encouraging me and kind of re-sparking me into getting into the hobby again. So I will include a link to their Zello channel. You do not have to be licensed to transmit in in that particular channel, but you do have to have a license to be able to uh, talk on the amateur radio frequencies. And for those who are wondering, again, it depends on the country in which you live. But in the United States, there are three different classes of license. There is the technician, which is your entry level license, and then there is the general level of license, and then there is the extra level of license, which an extra is the highest level that you can get in the amateur ham radio at this point. So eventually, I'm going to be bringing more people in the future to help me help you guys understand better what amateur ham radio is all about. The one thing I was starting to say earlier, but then I got sidetracked, sorry, is the make sure that you study for your test. You just don't want to. And the way I said it earlier was, you have to study for your test in what's best for you, and what might work for you doesn't always work for the next person. So each individual person is in that's the key word, unique and individual, which means they'll be different than neighbor John. So you have to understand and accept that how neighbor John might do a certain thing, or how neighbor John might prepare for a certain thing, might be different than how you do it, and that's okay. That is just fine. That is part of what makes everybody unique. The other thing I will say too is go at your own pace. Don't feel like you have to, oh, I gotta go get that book, and then I gotta do studying, and I gotta get my certificate within 2 months or within like 3 weeks. You know, you go at your own pace, and it's very important to make sure that when you do this, you understand the material that's being shown to you, and talked about with you. And then the more that you understand the material, when the questions come up on the test, because they will, then you'll have a greater understanding on, and you'll be able to go, yeah, I remember that question, and oh yeah, that's the answer, and that's why that is the answer. The nice thing about the Gordon West CD here is all of the test questions are basically on that CD-ROM, and they divide them up into different sections, and we'll explore that in a later video in the series. But if you get a wrong answer, don't be afraid, because you've got to get something wrong a few times before you get it right. And the more you get it wrong, the more it will help you understand why the right answer is the right answer. So don't be afraid to do what it is that you need to do to study a certain piece of the material in a certain way, because everybody's unique. So that's just my piece of the pie right now, that we'll go over in a future video what the technician test entails, and do you have to be do you have to be in front of somebody when you do the test? Do you have to pay a fee when you do the test? We will explore all of these questions in future videos of my series, which is located on my YouTube channel called Becoming a Ham Radio Operator. I would like to thank every one of you for tuning in and your time and attention to this matter, because this is a matter that is very interesting to me, and I'm going to have to go very, very soon here. But please come back please come back very soon for another video. This has been the Cruiser Chris World Network. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, and share. Give us a thumbs up so that we know that you've been here and that you care. Until next time, friends, happy connecting. This has been a presentation of the Cruiser Chris World Network. Have a good night. Stay safe, happy, and healthy. Like, subscribe, and share so that we can always bring you educational programming such as this and much more. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a good day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye, RJ.